On this computer. Welcome everybody to another DVMUG Zoom meeting. This is Wednesday, January 20th. This would be what we usually call our main meeting. And we have 5 videos today. And we also will start with a half-hour questions, and I'll escape out of here and hide this and close that. And we'll go to the BBS. Is Camille here? She's not here. Maybe we'll wait for her question to see if she shows up. This is a question left over from yesterday that we didn't get to because it was a class. And she wouldn't hang, she was there, but she didn't hang around to the end where we did a few questions. So, okay. Anybody else got a question? We'll put this.
I left a question on the bulletin board.
Yeah, and I answered your question on the bulletin board.
I've been teaching all day, so I didn't see it.
Okay, I can bring that up. Somebody needs to mute. Okay, I'll find yours. Yours basically, yeah, there's this whole COVID thread going on here. Carol, okay, so here's your question here. And here's my answer was the Apple page that tells you exactly how to do what you want to do. Basically, you want to share your pictures between all your devices from Photos in the Photos app, right?
Yes.
And there's 2 ways to do it, and Apple shows you basically the easiest way is just turn on the photo library in iCloud on all your devices, and it should just work.
Okay, so here's my phone. And how do I turn on photo library? I got photos in iCloud.
Okay, on the iOS devices, it's in settings. Then your name at the top, which opens your Apple ID. And then iCloud, and you'll see all the switches for all the different things, and one of them is Photos.
That's been on forever.
Do you have an additional options button there?
It says Photos. It says Photos and on.
Okay, so there's not an additional button to check under options, because the older systems you had to turn on the photo library. The newer ones, I think it's just a switch. They took everything, the options out.
This is an iPhone 7.
Yeah, but it depends on what iOS you have.
I've got the latest iOS.
Yeah, so there's just a switch. So the same thing needs to be on your iPad if you want the photos there, and on your Mac needs to be in System Preferences. On the newer OS, your Apple ID will be at the top, and then there'll be iCloud, and then there'll be Photos there.
So,
okay, I've got all those on.
Then it should work perfectly.
It does not work perfectly.
So when you click on where it says Photos on, when you click there, and on the next screen, it's also turned on where it says iCloud Photos.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no on your Mac.
No on here.
Okay.
Yeah.
On your Mac.
So on my Mac, I go to System Preferences, and hold on, I gotta wake it up.
It depends on what OS you have also. I can show you System Preferences here.
I've got Catalina.
Well, then it should look the same as this. So you have your Apple ID at the top of System Preferences. And then in there, you will see Photos, and there's just a switch now. There's not an options under that. It used to be an option, so you had to turn on separate, because there used to be something called, what was it, Photo Stream, and that, I think they took that out.
Yeah, I've had this I've had this checked forever. And hold on.
Okay, when you open the Photos app on all these devices and scroll down to the bottom, it should show you the number of photos in your library. As you go down to the bottom, see that I have 79 photos. And on your phone, you can do the same thing, and the numbers should match.
Okay, today I turned it off, and now I turned it back on, and it says you may run out of iCloud storage by uploading this library.
That's why it's not.
Carol, hold on. Go to iCloud.com and log into your Apple ID there, and then select photos and see how many photos are in the cloud.
So basically, that's the reason why it doesn't work, is you don't have enough space. If you push the button and it says this may not work, actually it doesn't say may, it'll say calculating, and then it says you don't have enough space, you need to buy more space. And then there's a button to push to buy more.
I'm paying for 50 gigabytes.
That may not be enough. Some people
may not be enough. How many photos do you have in your library on the Mac?
Well, maybe 2,700, something like that. But
well, that should be enough. How about videos?
Oh yeah, I've got some videos.
Okay, so you need to check your iCloud space. So on your Mac, System Preferences, Manage down here, and you need to see how full your space is. Maybe you have other stuff in there.
Maybe
you set all your.
Check it on your phone.
On your phone, you can do the same thing. Maybe you set your documents in your desktop to the cloud unknowingly, and it's filled it up or something.
Just go to settings, go to your name, and go down to iCloud, tap on that, and it'll tell you how much you've used.
Right. This window here on the Mac and on your phone, it's very similar.
So I'm at my computer. I'm not watching you.
Okay, so you can do it on your computer. I'm showing you here. System Preferences, your Apple ID at the top, and then right there here is the Manage Your Space.
Apple ID. iCloud. I clicked on iCloud. I've got a list of.
No. Doesn't it look like this with all your switches? It's down at the bottom here, isn't it?
Come look at the screen, Carol. Come look at John's screen.
I'm
looking. Yeah, I've got that.
You have this window here.
Oh, I see. And so you're looking at Manage. Okay, you're looking down there. Hold on.
Yeah, you should see a bar graph with the types of stuff you have in there, what's taking up all your space. I'm still
No, it's not. I've got 18.9 gigabytes to spare.
Wait a minute, 18 gigabytes free?
Yeah.
Of 50.
I've got 50 gigabytes on iCloud.
And 18 free.
Yes.
Okay, so apparently what you have in your Photos app won't fit in 18 gigs. That's what it's telling you when you try to turn it on.
Okay.
You have a bunch of videos in there?
I do have a lot of videos, yeah.
Well,
not a lot, but I've got some. I do have some videos.
Well,
don't you ever get a message saying that you can buy more space or something?
Yeah,
like
you can
that?
push the button and buy more, but the next step after 50 is $3 a month for 200.
Yeah, I know, but I just wondered if she got the message.
Okay, I've got 241 videos.
No, there you go.
That's it.
It doesn't seem like that much.
Videos are the largest thing you have on your computer. How long are they? 5 minutes, 30 minutes?
No, they're not that long. They're
okay. Videos.
Some of them are just 13 seconds and
something in there is big. You have something in there that's big.
Right. What I
One of
want
them-
to do is just what I want to do is access one of my albums in Photos. Can I? Is there
No.
some way to?
No.
Know what?
See the switch up there next to Photos? Do you see any options or anything but an on and off switch? No.
Are
It's
you
all
back
or-
in the system preferences?
Yeah, wherever you look, the photo syncing is all or nothing. You don't get to choose.
Well, but what about my albums? Can I sync
Your
those?
albums, or it doesn't matter what you name albums, it's all one big tarball. You don't get to choose what albums, what pictures, what not. It's just on or off. It's all your choices. You don't get a choice.
Huh.
The few things you
Unless,
want-
unless you do the second option that I posted in the Apple Help, which is manually turn off Photos in iCloud and don't do that at all, then plug it in with a cable, and then you can deal with onesie twosies albums.
Okay, I did that today. I plugged in my phone and I updated some of the photos. Let me see. Recently, okay, recent. Okay, I'll tell you what I need is what happens with my students is I want to send them. I do online teaching, and I've got a nice little piece on my computer that I want to share with them, and I can't get it to them without going onto my computer and finding it. Okay, I go onto my computer and I can't find it. I go onto my phone and it's in my, I take a picture of each page, and so it's on my phone, and I can't save it in my computer in my student pieces folder, without. I have to send it to me. I have to email the images to me.
My suggestion is remove all your videos from the Photos app, and then you'll be able to do everything that you want.
Okay, where do I move the videos to?
Export them out and put them in a folder.
Oh, okay.
Select all the videos, export, name a folder, put them in there. Don't put your videos in the Photos app anymore, and it'll all work the way you want.
Oh, okay.
Well, you have to delete the videos after you export.
Right. After you get them out into the Finder in a folder where your name that's named where you want them, then delete them out of the Photos app. Then the syncing thing will work.
Okay.
Or pay $3 a month to go to 200 gigs, and then that'll work.
Yeah. Okay. So that will, if I do all that, that will enable me to find my photos on my phone, my iPad, and my computer. Is that right?
Yeah. If you have the space, everything will sync and be the same everywhere all the time.
Okay, it'll sync without my having to plug in all of my devices into my computer.
Yes,
Is that it?
that's the way iCloud works.
Okay, that's what I thought it was supposed to work like that. But
It's working. It's working as designed, and you found the reason why it's not.
I think you should go to iCloud.com and log in and see how many photos are in the cloud now, and see if it matches either your phone, your iPad, or your computer in terms of numbers.
All right. I had it up here.
You think if she poked around and found if she had a movie or something that was taking 2 or 3 gigabytes, that would help?
It might.
Log into iCloud. Oh, these are ads. Okay, hold on. iCloud account.
So you go to a web browser and
Gotta
go
put
to
my,
go to a web browser and go to iCloud.com. You can see the cloud is the master of all these things. It has to hold all the originals from all your devices combined. It has to have the space for that. Then on your phone, your iPad, and if you don't have the space for everything on your phone and your iPad, there's a little checkbox for optimize your photos, and it only keeps thumbnails on those devices. So you can have 30,000 photos on your iPad and your phone and not fill them up. It works great.
okay, I'm sorry. I'm trying to sign in to iCloud.
Sorry, John, what was the last thing you said before it works great?
Hmm?
What did you just say? What was the last thing you said before it works great?
About the optimization?
Yes.
Okay, so on your, if you have 30,000 photos on your Mac, you got huge amount of space, and you do photos library syncing to your phone and your iPad, more than likely you don't have the space on those devices to fit 30,000 original photos.
Okay, I got 2,586 photos and 251 videos.
So those videos are coming from you have videos on your phone and your iPad that have made it up to the cloud and filled it up. Maybe you don't want those. Maybe you want to get those out of there.
Yeah, I'd like to get those out because I don't think I need them. So I go to what, media types, and then videos. And do I just delete them?
If you don't want them.
Well, I don't want them in iCloud.
Okay, if you delete them from iCloud, they will disappear from all your devices. They will be gone.
Okay, so how can I manage this?
You're going to need to export them out of the cloud then. Or export them out of your iOS devices with a cable. With something like use image capture. You can easily plug in your phone and your iPad and image capture. You can open it up and get a list of sort by type, and you'll see all the movies, and you can say export and get them out of there. And then you can delete them.
Okay, so I have to get them out of all of my devices before I delete them from iCloud?
No. Any device you go to, the iCloud on the web, anything, your Mac, your iPhone, your iPad, if you delete something on any one of those devices and the photos library syncing is gone, they're gone everywhere. So if you want to keep them, you need to somewhere on one of these places save them out, like onto your Mac in the Finder.
Okay.
Before you do that. Yeah, you get them out of there.
Okay.
So if I have a huge photo library on my Mac and I'm syncing through iCloud, what happens on the devices like the phone that doesn't have that much storage? It just gets thumbnails?
No, they're the originals unless.
No.
They're their originals everywhere unless you check on the Mac. This has optimized Mac storage. That's for all these things. But on your phone, you'll see optimize under the photos. You can optimize the photos, which leaves thumbnails on the device that you have that checked on. You can also do that on your Mac if you were so inclined and only have your originals in the cloud, one place. I don't think that's a good idea. You need 2 copies of originals of everything. So,
right.
And you usually, the Mac, unless this has become more of an issue, when everybody had spinning hard drives and default was 1 terabyte, you could have all your originals. Well, MacBook Airs, old ones, only had 128 gigs, and the new MacBooks only come with 256.
No.
So if you have massive amounts of photos, it's now an issue again that they're going to fill up your hard drive. So you got to think about that. Especially when you buy a new machine, the default is 256. We've had a gal come to the clinic once. She bought a new machine, but she bought the standard 256 and she had 500 gigs of data on her old Mac, on her old laptop. I said, well, that doesn't work. You can't fit in there. You have 500, doesn't fit into 250. You're better off just buying, she was running out of space. She had filling up to 500 on her old laptop. I said, you're better off just buying a 1 terabyte SSD, put it in your old laptop, and then your storage problem is fixed, because buying a new 256 doesn't fix the problem of your 500 being full. She didn't understand that until we looked at it. She came in and said, I said, well, take the MacBook back. It don't work. She said, you got 2 weeks, return it. And she did, and she came back the next month, and that's what we did, and transferred it to the new SSD, and she was happy. Yeah, you got to consider the space issue now when you buy something that you might have to buy a custom order with more space in it. That's true on everything. The new iMacs come with 256, not 1 terabyte. And all the laptops come with 256 standard.
Okay, do we have any other questions before?
Right, we wore this out, so.
Did you comment on that? What was in my question? Hold on.
The second part of your question? Is there any way to sync my albums? That's part of the first question. Yes, there is with the cable. If you turn off photo library sharing and you go to the old-fashioned cable method, then yes, you can only do part of them.
Okay, that's what I'm going to have to do.
No, you're going to figure this out. You're going to figure out the videos and stop syncing them, and then you'll have space. That's how you're going to figure this out.
All right.
Probably a good thing would be to back it all up to something separate, so that as you figure it out, you're not losing stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta export it to somewhere. Okay, it says to sync photos from this computer, turn off iCloud photos.
That's if you want to stop doing this and go to the cable method. Well, it shouldn't even be on because it wouldn't let you turn it on because there wasn't enough space.
Okay, so then I went to System Preferences and unchecked Photos and clicked Sync. And my latest test photo is not there.
Well, now you're going to have to deal with putting the device with a cable and open Photos. You just want the photos out of your phone onto your computer, is that right? You can manually suck them all in and put them in the Photos app.
Yeah, that's what I end up doing. I just wondered if iCloud would do that automatically. And the answer is yes, if you have enough room in iCloud for all that stuff.
Yes,
but I won't be able to find certain photos very easily because I can't get my albums to sync.
No.
Okay.
Photo syncing is a big switch, on or off. When it's on and you have enough space and it syncs everything, any device you go to will be exactly the same, including all your albums, all your edits. You delete one, it deletes it everywhere. It's all the same everywhere all the time. So if you can find it on one thing, it'll be exactly in the same place on the other one. The albums will all be there.
The albums do sync then.
The whole, it can't not sync. That's the way it works. Warts and all, it's exactly the same. Edits, deletions, whatever you do is all the same everywhere all the time. That's the whole feature of this.
Okay, if I can sync my album called Student Pieces, then, now why did you say no?
It syncs everything, every single word, detail, everything. So yes, if that's an album that you want, yes, it will be there everywhere, but you don't get to choose to do one album and not all of it. like Time Machine.
Okay,
There's a
I've
big
just,
switch.
I've never been able to
on
see,
and off. That's
Carol,
because
I've never been able to see my albums on any device. Here's photos. I'm clicking on albums and I don't
That's 'cause
have
it-
my
That's because it
album with,
hasn't synced because you don't have enough space yet. It's not working.
50 gigabytes. Isn't that enough space, don't you think?
When you look,
You want
Carol,
to put 75 on it.
Carol, you tried to turn it on. It said there's not enough space to do this. So the albums didn't go.
I have albums on mine. We need to move on though.
Yeah, you need a,
All right.
we found your answer.
I got to get rid of those videos and
Yes.
Carol, it's only $3 a month.
Or pay the $3 a month and be on done with it till you figure it out. You can always go back later. It's a month by month choice. You can turn it on for a month, sync everything till you figure it out. Then when you get rid of the videos and you don't need all the space, just go back to $1 a month.
okay.
Sometimes people need to do that temporarily to get over the hump to do things.
Oh, okay. That's a good idea. I'll do that.
It's only $2 extra for 1 month while you figure it out.
Okay.
Okay, we
Oh.
may have time for one more quick question, if anybody has one.
Just a thank you.
Yes,
Drive.
Janet. You're muted, Janet. You need to unmute.
Sorry,
Do
it
you
might
like
not
my,
be a quick one. It's an email question. You know how sometimes you get a bunch of cartoons or photos or something in an email and it's been forwarded a zillion times and it's got all those quote bars on the left?
Yep.
Yeah.
And you can get rid of them with reduce, what's it called, quote, reduce
Yes.
quoting or something.
Mhm.
But there are some left that don't go away. I guess they were there a long time ago. Is there any way to get rid of those last ones? Because sometimes they're still squeezing the pictures on the page.
No.
Well,
It's part
when
of the
you
graphic that was sent to you.
What?
Part of the graphic that was sent to you.
if you
The graphic was
reply
sent
to the
me. It was
message,
sent to me and it's been around, you know.
okay,
people
when you forward the message, it makes a copy of it and you can edit it to your heart's content and do whatever you want.
You can't get rid of the old, I can't get rid of the old vertical bars on the left. Some of the, I can get rid of maybe 5 of them and there are 2 left.
Okay. Is all you want the one image?
Well,
to
sometimes
forward?
it's a whole bunch of images. If it was just 1 or 2, I could deal with that, but sometimes there's a whole lot of them. So, I
Well,
don't know how
that's
to
the
deal with
problem.
that.
You can do it. You just have to be careful with your editing. You should be able to do it. Although if it's something that the best thing to do is just save the images out and send them as a new email.
Yeah, that's a lot of trouble when there's 25 images. Yeah, okay. I didn't want to hear that.
Sometimes you can't get rid of them because of the way they're sent to you and what's happened before they ever get to you. And it may
Oh,
be
I
several
know,
steps back.
They're definitely there before they got to me.
Some of them just won't go away.
Okay.
For example, somebody may have embedded a screenshot of a thread, and then the lines are actually part of an image.
No, I don't think in this case.
Okay,
Okay, thanks.
we got our half hour. We're ready to go to videos. We got 5 of them. We had something in chat. Did we deal with that? Okay, that nothing to deal with in there. Okay. All right, let's, Chris, are you ready?
to deal with.
Ready?
Okay, let me see. What do I want to do here? I want to go to
You want me to share my screen?
speaker view. I want to go to, yeah, go ahead and share your screen and we'll go to the first video. Okay, we'll go to speaker view. We'll go to standard view. Is that what I want? I want to go to speaker view, standard side by side. Okay, well, that's Close enough. Okay, first, this is the first one, right?
Yep.
This is Gary's doing this series of going back to basics. Some of these Mac basics he's covered in other videos, but he's doing these like start from ground up and do these really short one topic basics. And I think they're actually pretty good because some of the stuff you forget, some of the stuff you may know by heart. Some of your newbies, you don't know that you can do all this stuff. Go ahead and roll it.
If you're new to Mac, you may be struggling with the modifier keys on the Mac keyboard. Let's take a look at them and how to use them. MacMost is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 800 supporters. Go to macmost.com/Patreon. There you could read more about the Patreon campaign, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. So the modifier keys on the Mac keyboard are keys that you press in conjunction with other keys. They don't do anything by themselves. The modifier keys on the keyboard are the Command key, Option key, the Control key, the Shift key, and also the FN key. If you're new to Mac, you may have already figured out that you need to use these keys with other keys, such as letters, to perform certain commands. For instance, Command C performs a copy. Command V performs paste. These are known as keyboard shortcuts. But modifier keys also work with other things. For instance, the Control key is often used with mouse or trackpad clicks. The Shift key, of course, is often used while typing. Let's start by looking at the Command key. This is used for almost all keyboard shortcuts. You usually hold the Command key down first and then use the letter, number, or symbol key to execute a command. For instance, Command S is usually save, while Command P is usually print. Now the Option key is often used to create a second level of keyboard shortcuts. For instance, instead of just Command and then a letter, you may need to hold Command and also Option and then a letter. The same is true for Control. Sometimes you may do Command Control and then another key. In fact, sometimes you may need to do all three, Command, Option, and Control. Shift also works in this way where you may use it in conjunction with Command, say Command Shift and then a letter. You may notice a pattern here. Command is usually the primary modifier key and then Option or Control or Shift are often used in addition to Command to provide another shortcut. Now the Shift key is also of course used while typing. It's simply used just like on an old-fashioned typewriter to switch from lowercase to uppercase. Now note that if you're new to Mac and used to using Windows, that Command and Control can be a bit confusing. On a Mac, the primary key for keyboard shortcuts is Command. But on Windows, it's Control. And it's confusing because there's a Control key on the Mac's keyboard. And sometimes when you look at documentation for cross-platform apps or games, it will say something like use Control and then a letter to do something. Well, on the Mac, that simply means Command and that letter. Now there are symbols on the top of these keys. These symbols correspond to what you'll find in the menu bar on your Mac. For instance, here in the Finder, with the Finder window open, if I go to the View menu, you can see keyboard shortcuts to the right. So notice here the symbol next to these keyboard shortcuts is the same as the symbol found on the Command key. That's how you know that Command 2 is what triggers the shortcut for View as a list. If you look down here, you'll find there are two modifier keys shown. There's a symbol for the Command key, but also the symbol for the Option key. So Option Command S will trigger View Hide Sidebar. Here you can see a symbol you won't find on your keyboard. An arrow pointing up stands for the Shift key. That's not usually printed on the keyboard, so you just have to know that that means Shift. So Shift Command P is View Show Preview. And here you see a symbol usually found on the Control key. So Control Command 0 is View Use Groups. If you look in other menus like the Go menu here, you'll find other combinations. So this is how you find keyboard shortcuts and know which modifier key to use with which letter or symbol to activate that shortcut. To use the keyboard shortcut rather than selecting the item here from the menu. Now one key you may find mentioned in different places but not find on your keyboard is the Alt key. The Alt key is simply the Option key. In fact, for years Apple printed both the words Alt and Option on that key. But the correct way to refer to it on the Mac is Option. If you're using a universal keyboard, one meant for Macs and Windows, usually that key shows Alt, not Option. Now I mentioned before that sometimes you can use modifier keys with things other than another key on the keyboard. For instance, you can hold down the Control key and then click to bring up a context menu pretty much anywhere on your Mac. You do have the ability to change the modifier keys, although I don't recommend it. If you go to the Apple menu and then System Preferences, then to Keyboard, then under Keyboard, click the Modifier Keys button, and it shows each of the modifier keys, also including the caps lock key. And you can change what they do. So for instance, if you wanted to switch the Control key to Command, you could, and then Command key to Control. On a standard Mac keyboard, I don't recommend doing this as it'll be very confusing. But if you have a non-standard keyboard, perhaps one used for Windows, then you may want to play around with these to get things to match what you find on a Mac keyboard a little bit better. Also here in System Preferences Keyboard, you'll find a checkbox here that refers to the FN key. So the FN key is a special modifier key that has to do with the row at the top of your keyboard. Or if you have a MacBook with a touch bar, then it's going to work with that touch bar as well. Now depending upon how you have the checkbox here in System Preferences set, those keys will either send an F key function like F1, F2, and F3 to the app that you're using, or they will refer to the functions you find on the keys themselves, like changing the brightness of the screen, changing volume, a play and pause button for music. So you can see here if I turn this option on, now if I want to play or pause music using the F8 key, I have to hold down the FN key to do that. But with it off, it will play or pause just by itself. No FN key is needed. But if I'm using an app, say like Photoshop or Pages, and I want to use the keyboard shortcut F8, now I have to hold down the FN key to activate that. Whether you have this checked or not is just a personal preference. You probably want to set it depending upon what you use those keys for a majority of the time. For instance, somebody who uses Photoshop may want to use F1, F2, F3, etc. all the time. So they may want to have this turned on and then have to use the FN key to access the special functions on those keys. Whereas if you rarely use keys like F1, F2, and F3, then you may want to have this turned off and have those usually assigned to those special functions, knowing you can hold the FN key down to activate something like an F8 if you need to. Also note that with the very latest Macs, the ones that came out at the end of 2020 and then beyond, the FN key also has a special symbol on it that lets you know you can use it to enter special characters. Holding down that key, it acts as the FN key to change what those modifier keys at the top of your keyboard do. But a quick tap will actually bring up the keyboard and special character viewer, just like using the keyboard shortcut Control, Command, and Space. I publish new tutorials every weekday. Hit the subscribe.
All right. Anybody got any questions about that? A lot of people don't use keyboard shortcuts and they don't change, and the basic command copy paste has been the same since day one on the Mac, and it works in all the apps the same. And if you do a lot of that stuff and you're going to the menus, you really should learn the very basics. Save, command save, the basic things that you do. It saves a lot of time.
Hey, John, this is Julie. I found when I was sorting papers the other day, MacMost, Gary's got a cheat sheet on his website.
Yes, he does.
For what those keyboard shortcuts are.
Yep,
Very
he sure does. A printable thing, and he's had that and he's updated it for Big Sur. And
Yep.
Yes, there it is right there.
Very handy.
So Chris has this, and it shows you the basic stuff.
Yeah,
And
it's awesome.
There's a lot of keyboard shortcuts for obscure stuff that really sometimes, like if you use Mission Control, you're probably crazy if you're not using keyboard shortcuts, and they're also different when you have a laptop with a trackpad. There's lots of shortcuts about how many fingers you're swiping and what direction and pinching and to do stuff. And you can always learn them just by pulling down the menu. If there's something you're going to the menu a lot and pulling it down, see if it has a keyboard shortcut so you can remember that and you don't have to go up there anymore. And it's a lot faster. Some of them are pretty obscure. I don't see how you can remember a lot of these 3 key things that do obscure things. I can never remember those things.
It's funny you saying that. I recently was doing a lot of cutting and pasting, and I needed to do the match style. And I went to the trouble of actually remembering this. What is it? Control, Option, Shift, Command, V.
Because you use it a lot?
I was using it so much, yeah. I was doing a lot of cut and pasting from spreadsheet and a document and stuff. So it kept wrecking my layout if I didn't do the match style thing.
Yeah.
So that works.
Yeah, cut, copy, paste. That should be ingrained in anybody's brain.
Yeah.
And the three keys are in a row right next to each other. So it's bang, bang, bang. You just do it, bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
And same S, Command S for save. I mean, you just, while you're typing something, Command S and you save it. You don't have to take your fingers off the keyboard, and you just save, 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 save as you go along. Okay. Next subject.
This is it, 10 ways to customize Mac Mail.
And there's your Mac Mail. Okay, so I don't know exactly remember what's inside of this one, but it's all the preferences and customizations you can do in Mail. Now, a lot of these things he's doing refer to Big Sur. Basically, that's what he's showing. He might mention that it's different in other operating systems, so he usually uses the latest stuff. And Mail in Big Sur now is somewhat different than it has been in Catalina and previous versions. So go ahead.
Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. Let me show you 10 ways you can customize the Mail app on your Mac. MacMost is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 800 supporters. Go to MacMost.com/Patreon. There you could read more about the Patreon campaign, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. Now, the Mail app is what most Mac users use to read their email. There are a lot of customization options in Mail. You can change how you view all the messages that come in, what the messages look like, the toolbars, all sorts of things. So let's take a look at the different ways that you can customize it so it works better for you. So some of these things are new in macOS Big Sur. And one of those is how the sidebar here that shows your mailboxes works, particularly when it comes to the favorites at the top. You'll notice you have favorites here at the top, maybe some other things like smart mailboxes, and then you have a section for each account. So I've got an iCloud email account and a MacMost email account. There's a button here to hide or show all the mailboxes for each account. Now, I know a lot of people don't like having to go all the way down in this list to access some of these mailboxes, and you don't have to because you can add what you want to favorites. So customize favorites to fit your needs. For instance, here under favorites I have all inboxes. I can open that up and see both inboxes for both accounts. But I could also do the same for archive. Let's say I want to add the archive mailbox for my iCloud account up here as well. I can drag that up and add it there. And I could do the same thing, say, with this account as well. Drag it up to favorites and add it. And I can arrange these as I like. So let's put that one down there, that one down there. And once I have the mailboxes that I actually use up here in favorites, I can just close these so I don't have to clutter up the sidebar with them. Now, if you don't want to see these mailboxes at all, you don't have to. You can go to View and then choose Hide Mailbox List. And that gets rid of the list completely, giving you lots of extra room for the messages and viewing each message. But you could still do everything even though you can't see the mailboxes. For instance, if you select a message like this one, I could easily move it to any mailbox I want in a variety of ways. I can go to Message, Move To. I could Control click, two-finger click on a trackpad or right click on a mouse and then choose Move To. Or I could use the button here in the toolbar to move it to anywhere I want. And if you want to view a different mailbox, here I'm viewing all inboxes, you could do that as well. Just go to Mailbox and then go to Favorite Mailbox and you'll see some mailboxes listed here. These correspond to the favorites up here at the top. So if you want anything to appear in that Go to Favorite Mailbox list, just make sure it's added up here in Favorites. And you can even see there's keyboard shortcuts assigned to those. So if you learn those keyboard shortcuts, you could jump around to different mailboxes without ever needing to see the sidebar. And then of course you always can bring up and hide the sidebar with Shift Command M, the keyboard shortcut, very easily. Now by default you'll see your list of messages and then whatever message is selected you'll see a preview to the right. But it doesn't have to be to the right. You can go to View and then use Show Bottom Preview. And now your list of messages is at the top and it goes all the way across. And your preview's at the bottom. You can grab this line here and drag it up to create a larger preview area. You could also go with no preview at all. So if I take this line here and I drag it all the way to the right, the preview goes away. So how do you read your messages? Well, just double click on any one of them and it will open up here in a new window. Some people may prefer it that way. If you want to get it back, all you need to do is move your cursor over to the right side of the screen until you see the cursor change to something like this. Then drag to the left. You have to drag far enough and then it will appear. And if you want this line to go back to its default location, just double click. Now a completely different way to view your messages is with the column layout. Go to View, Use Column Layout. And now you get something that looks like this. You have a list at the top. It looks kind of like the list view in the Finder. You have different columns here and you can control click, two-finger click on a trackpad or right click on a mouse and add or remove columns. And you can easily sort by these columns by simply clicking on them. And then with the message selected, the message preview appears at the bottom. But you can change the message preview to go to the side as well. Another way to customize how Mail works is to choose whether or not to organize your messages by conversation. So here I have a message here that is obviously a response to a previous message. So what exactly was said before? What's the whole thread? Well, you could go to View and Organize by Conversation. And now when I select this, I actually see the entire conversation, including messages that I've sent, so I could follow along. Now another way to customize Mail is to customize the toolbar here at the top. You see all of these different buttons here. You can completely customize this toolbar. You can control click on the toolbar and choose Customize Toolbar. But you could also go to View, Customize Toolbar. And you can see there are a ton of different buttons that you can add here. And you can also remove some. So you can add some here, like for instance I could do an archive button here on the left side so it's a little closer to right above the top message. Maybe remove the reply all, and forward completely. Let's put a reply button instead here on the left and a standalone forward button here. You can also switch from icon only to icon and text so you can see what each button is labeled, and also text only if you prefer that. And if you ever want to reset it to the default set, you can just drag this here up and it resets everything. You also have the ability in Mail to hide the toolbar completely. And that gets rid of it. Creates some more space for you to use. If you don't ever use those buttons, you use keyboard shortcuts or menu commands, then you don't really need the toolbar. Now when talking about the toolbars, Mail is different than most other apps in that there's a second toolbar. When you either reply to a message or compose a new one, then you get this special toolbar here at the top that's different from the main one. And you can customize that one as well. You can see if I do Customize Toolbar with the composition window open, there are different buttons and different things that I could add. So add the things that you use the most while writing or replying to messages. Now of course there are also many customizations under Mail Preferences. Let's go to Fonts and Colors. And here we can change the fonts used in the list here. So say this text is too small. I can click here to select and make that bigger so it's easier to read here. I could also change the message font, make that larger as well. And of course the final result of what you get here in the message really depends on what was sent to you. If somebody sends you HTML email with specific fonts and sizes in it, then changing the message font may not have the same effect. And of course also under viewing there are lots of things you can change. For instance in List Preview you can go from 2 lines to up to 5 to include more of the message, or none if you rather just see the subject. Now here's a bonus tip. Mail works a little differently than other apps when you're looking at it in full screen view. So I'm going to click the green button here to go to full screen view for Mail. So far it looks just fine. But what if I'm to compose a new message or reply to an existing one? Because normally another window would open up, but we're in full screen view which doesn't allow for other windows. Well, Mail has a special feature where when you open up a composition window, it goes to the split screen view. So you still have full screen view with no menu bar, no dock, nothing else. But now you've split the screen between 2 windows. Your Mail window where you can see your messages, and notice the sidebar automatically went away because there's no room for it. And you could still browse messages and look at them over here, which is handy for reference. And then the other side is now your composition window with its own toolbar and everything. And as soon as you send this message, or maybe if you go to the top here and just click X to dismiss that message window, it goes away and you're back to full screen. And the same thing is true if you were to actually remove the message preview area. So now you're in full screen with no message preview area. So I double click on this message to read it and it gives me that message viewed in split screen, which is a really handy way to view email. Now I can view this message here. I can close it. I can go and double click to view this message here. It's a little neater than opening up a new window and having different windows floating around. But it does allow you to view most of your messages in this one big long list. It also works well if you're using column layout or without column layout, but you go into Preferences and then have the list preview set to maximum so you can see as much of the message as possible. So there are some different ideas about how to customize Mac Mail to fit your needs.
One thing I've showed before in Big Sur, they fixed the mail, what I thought was completely broken in Catalina. I don't know if they broke it in Mojave or not. If you use column layout in Catalina, you could not resize the columns, move the columns, sort the column, nothing. It's like you got what you got. It was really irritating. And in Big Sur, they fixed all that. So they put all that stuff back because some people were just like screaming about it. Okay, completely different talk. Anybody got questions about mail? That was a lot of stuff about customizing your mail. No? Okay, so this is another completely different topic. This is not a basics. This is using one feature of photos called memories. And this has changed somewhat in Big Sur also. They changed the Photos app. Every time you upgrade the OS, they add some features or change something. Or this is one of the things they kind of changed in Big Sur.
Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. Today, let's take a look at using memories in the Mac Photos app. MacMost is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 800 supporters. Go to MacMost.com/Patreon. There you could read more about the Patreon campaign, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. So in the Mac Photos app, on the left, you have an item here called Memories. You also may get notifications from time to time that there's a new memory to check out. So what are memories? Well, they are just collections of photos that are grouped together using the Photos app's artificial intelligence features. So it's basically looking for groups of photos that were taken at the same time, at the same place, or perhaps with the same person, or perhaps of the same person, or there's some other thing linking those photos together. It will often find groups of photos that were exactly a year or 2 or 3 before, or occasionally come up with other things like photos of a particular person or maybe pets or certain objects. So for instance here, if I look in my sample photos library, I can see it recently created a new memory called Year in Review, which makes sense since the beginning of a new year. Now to view a memory, just double click it and you go into the memory, and at the top here you're going to see one big image, and it's basically going to play a silent slideshow for you here using kind of a Ken Burns effect to make things move around a bit. If you want this to go full screen, you can click this button here and now it'll take the memory into the full viewing area of photos. Once you're in here you can move the cursor around and you see video playback controls here. Though it's not really a video, it's playing a slideshow. So I could pause, I could change the volume on the music that's playing. I could also click here and change some things, like for instance the theme being used, which will affect the music and how the photos are displayed. Also you often have short, medium, and long options here as to how many photos should be used in this video. Since there are only so many photos in this memory, only short and medium are available for this one. Now a lot of people ask if there's a way to export this slideshow here as a video. And the answer is no, there's not, at least not on the Mac. I'll talk more about that in a minute. Now underneath the slideshow at the top, you can scroll down and see a section called Photos. And this will arrange a bunch of photos here for you to be able to look at. And of course you can go to any one you want by double clicking on that photo. And it goes into it just like you're reviewing it in an album or in your library. You can use the arrow here to go back. You can also click Show More and it will change to a grid view and show all the photos in the memory. Switch to Show Summary to go back to this view. Underneath this you'll find People and it's going to show you people that are included in this memory. So you may see more than one and you can go into People View for that individual if you want. You also see Places and it will show on a map the different locations that are used here. So then you'll see Related, other memories and locations and albums that are related to this. Now at the bottom you'll see Controls. You can add to favorite memories. Now this is important if you want to keep the memory around. It's not going to keep all of your memories around. It's just going to have a few that are there and old ones are going to drop off the bottom as new ones are added to the top. So if there's a memory you really like, you want to add to favorites and then you'll have this collection of favorites where this memory will stay there until you remove it. You can also delete this memory if you're done looking at it or you just don't want this memory to be around. You can also go to Suggest Fewer Memories like this. So remember this one was suggesting a kind of year in review. So if I say show less like this, then I'm probably not going to see a year in review next year. But there are other types of memories as well. For instance, here's one called Four-Legged Friends. And I'm bound to probably see this memory pop up from time to time, or maybe one's kind of related to it, showing animals and pets and things. So if I said show fewer like this, I may not see memories that involve animals in the future. Now I can also do other things with the Share button here at the top. Notice it says Share 16 photos. So it's not sharing the memory. It's just sharing the list of photos that's in the memory. So I can add it as a shared album. I can email them, airdrop them, and do other things as well. I could also select the photos. So maybe use Show More to make sure I'm seeing all of them. Select the first one and then shift click to select the last one and then do New Album with Selection. And now I've created a new album that's a separate thing from that memory. But if you really like the memory you may decide you want to create an album to keep that group of photos around instead of leaving it as a memory. Now when you go to your list of memories you have memories and favorite memories. And remember I said you could save a memory as a favorite memory. So when you click on that you can see your favorite memory saved here. Remember to do that if you want to keep them around permanently. Now a lot of people want to take this slideshow and save it out as a video so they can share it with others or keep it around. And unfortunately there's no way to do that in Photos on the Mac. But if you're using iCloud your Photos library is going to sync across your devices and you actually can save the slideshow as a video if you're looking at it in iOS or iPadOS. On the Mac though it's easy to actually create a slideshow from Photos. So you could go to your photos here. I'll use Show More so I can select all of these. And then I could do File and then Create and Slideshow and then choose Photos as the slideshow maker. And now I can create my own slideshow using those photos. And this will be very similar to the slideshow memories but you have a lot more control because you have the full set of slideshow controls. And I showed this in many videos before. You can create captions, you can rearrange the order of the photos and set lots of different options for say the music and themes for the slideshow. And this kind of slideshow you can export as a video. In fact another way to do that is here on the main memory screen. You can control click, right click on a mouse or two finger click on a trackpad and you have a lot of options here including to create and then a slideshow. So you can take just the images that were used in that actual slideshow and it'll create a new slideshow from that. So you can see here it was just using 16 out of those 20 images here in the slideshow. But this is still a different slideshow and you can go through it and customize this before you export it. This is also how you remove a memory from favorites. You can do it here because this happens to be a memory saved in favorites. But if you go to favorites here you can also remove it or delete the memory right here. There are a couple of things in Photos preferences related to memories. You have Show Holiday Events so you could turn that off and you won't get memories associated with holidays. You also have Show Memories Notification. So if you turn that off you won't get notifications anymore when a new memory is created. And you also have Reset Suggested Memories. So this is when you click to suggest this type of memory less and you decide you've done that too much and you want to reset it. You can use this button to reset that and start over. So memories isn't a feature that you necessarily need to use. As a matter of fact I suspect most people don't use it. It's just simply another way to view your photos. You can view them in the library. You can create albums. You can view by people and places. And you can use memories to view your photos that way. Think of it like this. It's your own photo library suggesting to you groups of photos that you might enjoy looking at today. Compare that to other things like websites and social media that also demand your attention while using your computer. Viewing your own photos in memories in the Photos app may actually be a better way to spend your time and a good way to get more enjoyment out of the photos that you've taken.
So this is photos, organizing your photos for you, and it kind of gets more and more like that, where you don't have to do anything. It just does it. Does what it thinks you should be looking at, and so you might discover stuff in there that you forgot about when it does that. That's the whole feature, I think, is to surface stuff that's disappeared, and you now, oh look, I did this last year and this is all together. Anybody use this feature?
Just now.
Just now.
Now that I know about it.
A lot of people probably don't even, like you said, probably have never looked at it, don't even know what it means. You know, if you have a lot of photos, if you got thousands or tens of thousands of photos, it's a lot of work to manage them into any kind of albums to look at stuff. And this kind of like goes through your whole deal and makes packages that are interesting.
So how did he get to the Make Slideshow?
I don't remember.
I can show you. I don't have similar sort of photos on this. This is an old version, and I don't have any photos on this laptop, I don't think.
Yeah, this whole memories thing is pretty new, and maybe they had it in a previous, like last, in Catalina or something, but it didn't have as many features.
File create.
File create. Okay, thanks.
A lot of this stuff has become more and more automated. It's now, you have the people's automate, or all automatically. That's a good thing to do if you haven't done, is go in and go into people, and it'll say, oh, who is this? And then the more you say, okay, this is Anne, and then you go, and this is John, and this is Chris, and then you go back a little bit later and says, oh, and then it'll find those, and then it'll find a bunch more based on what you said, okay, and then the wrong person, and you take it out, so you get all your main people that are a lot of them in there named, and it's much easier to find stuff. And places the same way. If you shot them with your phone and has GPS, everything has a geotag on it. It knows automatically, it'll group all your stuff together around where they were taken, and then the people, and then it automatically figures out holidays, and okay, this was Christmas, this was Thanksgiving, like all those kinds of things.
Hey, John, this is Julie. I just was playing around with one of my memories and realized at the top of the screen, you can also save them as a slideshow to show on AirPlay.
Show on an airplane?
Yeah. No, AirPlay. On my Apple TV.
Oh, send it to your TV.
Exactly. So then if you've got
AirPlay it to your big screen. Yeah, to show it to everybody. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And it was simple. I just did it in like 3 clicks, and poof, it's ready to play.
Mm-hmm. So if you have an Apple TV, and obviously you have an Apple ID to go with that, and if you have the photo library syncing to the cloud, you can directly from your Apple TV look at your photos.
Also, Roku is now compatible with AirPlay.
It is.
I wish they would have that feature for Google Photos, but they don't.
And this is on my Catalina version, by the way.
Yeah. Okie dokie. Next topic, completely different subject. This is not a basics. This is a how-to. This is kind of a basic thing. How to use your Mac. How to use the Finder info window, or I call it the get info, the file get info window. A lot of people don't know where this is. They call me on the phone. How much hard drive you space? Check your hard drive, do get info. Huh? Where's that? Under file, get info. Where's the file menu?
Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com.
Sorry, John.
Okay, well, it's Command I is how you get to this if he doesn't mention it. Okay, we're gonna roll it up.
Today, let's take a closer look at the Finder info window. MacMost is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 800 supporters. Go to MacMost.com/Patreon. There you can read more about the Patreon campaign, Join us and get exclusive content and course discounts. So most Mac users at one time or another have used the Finder's info window. You can bring it up by selecting a file in the Finder and then going to File, Get Info, or Command I. This brings up the info window. The info window has information at the top and it's broken up into several sections. You can expand or hide the sections by clicking on the little reveal button to the left of each section title. So you can collapse everything so that you just see the titles there, or you could expand everything to see all the information. At the top of the window you'll see the file name, you'll see the size, and the time modified. Then under that you'll see an area for tags. If you use Finder tags you can see them here. You can click in here and select a tag to add, or just simply type it and add the tag that way. So if you use tags it's easy to add them, edit them, remove them through the info window. And then you can expand a section here like General and see more information. So for instance here under General we see the kind, in this case a Pages document. We see the size but represented in bytes. We also see the location of the file. Now here's a tip. You see how the location of the file is kind of spelled out here in a special format? If you were to select that and copy and then go to another app, I'm just going to open up TextEdit and then paste it in, you can see I get the actual real path, not the summary you kind of see here. That could be useful if you're looking for the path of a file to use in Script Editor, Automator, or somewhere else. You also see more time information like the time created as well as the time modified. And for most files we see two checkboxes here, Stationary Pad and Locked. Locking a file will make it harder to delete or edit that file. So if there's a file you want to protect from accidentally modifying it or deleting it, then you can simply lock it here. No need to mess around with permissions or the terminal or anything else. Stationary Pad is similar to that in that if you double click to open a file marked as a stationary pad it will open up a copy of that file instead of the original. Now before we go any further I want to show you the best tip about the info window. There are actually two versions of it. One is the info window that we've brought up here. Now the thing with the info window is when you select another file the info window still shows you information about the file you originally asked for. So even though I've selected another file here and I can continue to move around, this info window will still show the original info from the original file that I selected and chose Get Info to see. But if instead I go to File, Get Info, and hold the Option key down, it changes to Show Inspector. Option Command I. And if I use that I get something that looks just like the info window, and it pretty much is. The title area here is smaller and this window will stay on top no matter what I select. But in addition to that it will change to reference the file that's selected. So here's the original file, but if I choose this file you can see the inspector changes now to show me info for that file. So in a way the inspector is much more valuable than the basic info window. One of the main differences is that the inspector allows you to select multiple files. So I could choose say these three images here by holding the Command key down. If I were to use Command I you can see it brings up three info windows, one for each one of these files. But if I were to use Option Command I it brings up one inspector here that says 3 items. It gives me the total file size used, even a range of dates for modified. So it's really useful for inspecting multiple files. You can even make changes, like for instance if I click Locked all 3 of those files are now locked. Now using the inspector allows us to jump around to different files to see how the information displayed is different depending upon the file type. So for instance for a Pages file under More Info I don't get too much. I just basically see where the file was created and when it was last opened. But if I switch to this image file here you can see More Info gives me a ton of more information. Some of the metadata for this file. For instance the exposure time, the focal length, the device that was used to take the photo, the dimensions. If I switch to this video here you can see I get the codec used to compress the file and the duration. Now continuing down the list here if I look at name and extension I can see the name of the file. Now the difference between the name up here and the name down here is I can actually use this to rename the file. So another way to rename the file is using the info window or the inspector. Now you also have the ability to set the hide extension flag for the file. Now here under Finder, Preferences, under Advanced I have Show All File Name Extensions. Let's turn that off and you can see for some files there's no extension, and for some files there is. So with this file selected, if I turn on hide extension, the extension is hidden for that file. It only affects that one file, not everything. But using Finder preferences show all extensions overrides that. Next we've got comments. So you can add anything you want in here. You can describe the file, add some notes, things like that. The useful thing about comments is they show up in searches. So let's type something that wouldn't normally be found. It's not a normal word. I'll just type that there. So I've added that in the comments. Now if I do a spotlight search, Command space, and I look for it, you'll see that document comes up. So it's really useful to be able to add descriptors here to help you find files. It's particularly useful if you have a file, say an image or a video, that doesn't have any text data with it. You can add things in the comments to describe it and make it easier for you to find it later on. Now under Open With, you have the ability to change which app opens this particular file. Let's select this image here and you can see the default is Preview. But I could change it to open, say, an Affinity Photo. And now when I double click on this file, it will open up in Affinity Photo. I can also click Change All and it will change all files of this type to open with this particular app. If the app you want isn't in this list, you can choose Other and then select from the Applications folder any app you've got. Under Preview, there's another way to preview a file that's similar to Quick Look or the preview area in the Finder. So for an image you'll see a larger preview of the image. For a Pages document you'll see that document and you'll even get arrows here. And you think you'd be able to page through it, but you can't. In fact, you can as long as you're using the Info window. And you can see with the Info window it works, but the Inspector for some reason it doesn't. And the same is true if you're looking at a PDF or even a video. You can view the video in the Info window, but it doesn't work if you bring up the Inspector. Now the last section here is one most people don't need to get to. It's sharing and permissions. And these are the permissions for your user account. So in this case read and write is usually what's there. For other admin accounts on this Mac, that's staff. And for everybody. Now just because it says read only doesn't mean all the other users that have accounts on this Mac can read it, because its parent folder or the parent folder of that or somewhere along the chain probably has it set where you can't actually view those files. So just because they have read-only permissions doesn't mean they can actually get to the file, because they probably can't see any files at your account. Now you can also select a folder and get folder information like the total size of all the files in that folder. Other things in here like general information are as you would expect. It just says kind folder, but instead of having stationary pad here it has shared folder, and you can make this a shared folder, which means that in System Preferences Sharing, then under File Sharing you'll see that folder appear here, and you can assign permissions for other user accounts on your Mac to be able to view or change those files. Now in addition to a folder here you can also click on the background for the Finder window and it will actually give you information for the current folder, in this case the Documents folder. So here I see the total size, and under General I can see even a more specific size and the number of items that are contained here. So that's a look at using the Info window and the Inspector in the Finder. It's a tool that not every Mac user needs to use, but it's useful to know that it's there and what its capabilities are.
I always forget about the Inspector for multiple files. I watched his videos before and I never think to do that. Okay, one of those things in there that's very useful is that change all, what opened with and change all. For something like if you have Microsoft Word, an old version, you go to like Big Sur and your old 2008 Office doesn't work anymore and you want to be able to open your documents in, say, LibreOffice for free, then you say select the file, say this DOCX type, and then say open with. Is that what you got up? Open with LibreOffice. You have LibreOffice? Yeah. LibreOffice, and you push change all, and then from then on any document you click in the Finder will not open in Word, it'll open in LibreOffice and you don't have to deal with it. It just works. And if you don't like it, you can go back and change it back to Word. So that's when you change programs and you're worried about, oh, what am I going to do about my Word documents? You could change it to open in Pages if you wanted. It would convert to Pages, where LibreOffice just opens it. And in LibreOffice preferences, you can tell LibreOffice to always save as DOCX, and then it just opens automatically and saves automatically, and it still works in Word, and it's great. Works wonderful. I'm running into that a lot now as people go past, you know, into places where 32-bit apps don't work anymore. And so many people have Office 2008. I mean, almost everybody has it, and they never upgrade it. It's 12 years old. So yeah, LibreOffice is usually, I give them LibreOffice, set it up like this. And some people have called me back later and said, oh, thank you. LibreOffice is so much easier. Word is so complicated, all this stuff you don't need. And it's a great program. Any other questions about the Get Info?
Yeah, what were the shortcut keys? Was it
Command I.
Option
Command I and Command Shift I?
Command Shift I? I thought it was, let's see.
It's Command I.
Command, oh, that's Get Info. How about the inspector?
Option Command I.
Option Command I.
Option, hold extra Option.
Okay.
Option key.
Thank you.
Yeah, you wouldn't even know that was there because it's not in the menu to see. But a lot of things, when you hold the Option key off down, change when you do stuff.
So there was an early Take Control book, Take Control of Permissions in Mac, and it was quite a few versions ago. They never updated it. And I went all the way through the book and learned something about permissions, but I have no idea what staff is when you see that. Anybody know? Where it says me, staff, or everyone?
Staff is a built-in group.
It's a group that includes admin.
Yeah, probably something like everybody who has admin status, maybe. I'm not sure. Usually when the permissions get screwed up, you'll see a little red minus arrow and you can't get into the folder, even though it's in your user and you own the damn thing and you can't get into it. So I usually just go in here and say, change everyone to read write. And then there's an option in here to change everything in the enclosing folder, which fixes all the files inside of it. And then you can get back into it. It happens sometimes when you're moving stuff around between drives, and sometimes things go nuts for no reason.
What is this plus here for?
I'm sorry.
What is this plus here for? What does that do?
To add a new person. So if you go in here and you don't see yourself in here, or you can push plus and you can pick any user on your computer or any group, and then assign them read on whatever permissions you want. Normally in your user, everything in your user, you should be read write for you.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's not. If you drag something off another drive, or you may not get that, and all of a sudden you can't get into your stuff. It happens. But the feature to say apply to enclosing items, that's important, because you can make the folder readable by you, and then the stuff inside is not readable. That's a pop-up in the gear, I think.
Remember we used to have repair permissions?
Yeah,
it did some dark.
You have to unlock anything you change. You got to push the lock.
Or maybe did nothing at all.
Yeah, people use it all the time. It was voodoo. They wanted to do something. They wanted to rebuild the desktop from OS 9. I want to repair the permissions. People would do it for no reason. It didn't do anything. It basically read the receipts from every application installed puts a receipt in the system. It would read the receipt, and then the receipt would tell it what permissions were supposed to be on those files that got installed, and it would do that. And it used to sometimes fix things, but people didn't You know, people use it all the time and it didn't really do anything. You can still do it in terminal. If you Google it, how to repair permissions in Big Sur, there's a terminal command to do it. And Onyx and some other programs, they have it in there too, the checkbox to do that.
I have an unrelated question when you're ready.
Okay, why don't we wait to the end? I think we have one more video, is that right? The App Store. Yeah, this is one that just came out, I think, today.
Can I ask you a question first about while we're on get info and permissions?
Yeah.
Remember, if you get info on a drive, on an external drive, there's ignore ownership.
Yeah.
I never really.
So if you mount a drive that doesn't belong to you and you can't go in and you go in there and you can't see stuff and it has a little red arrow on it, if you select the drive and say ignore permissions on that drive, all that stuff will go away and you can have access to anything you want. So if you're mounting a foreign drive, maybe you can't get into stuff. You can even mount somebody else's external clone and it won't belong to you and you won't have access. If you turn the checkbox, boom, they're in. So, you know, the permissions doesn't really protect you for security. There's ways into everything. You log into root, you can do whatever you want. Okay,
Ready?
Here we go. Mac Basics.
Mac App Store Basics.
App Store, yeah, Basics. This is in his series of Mac Basics.
Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. Today, let me show you how to use the Mac App Store. MacMost is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 800 supporters. Go to MacMost.com/Patreon. There you can read more about the Patreon campaign, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. So the Mac App Store is the primary way that you get both Apple and third-party apps on your Mac. It's a regular app. You can launch it any way you like. You should find it in the dock as well as your applications folder. And when you launch it, it basically is a store that you could browse to see what apps are available. There are several different sections you can see here on the left and a search field. So you can go to Discover it to see what's new or what Apple is featuring currently. You can go to other categories like Create for creative tools, Work for productivity tools, Develop for developer tools, and Play for games. You can also go to Categories and find other categories as well. So for instance, if you wanted to look just at business apps, you can go to the business section. Every section has some featured apps, but also a list of the top free apps and the top paid apps. Searching for apps, though, is the main way you would go to look for an app. So you would just type your search terms. So for instance, to look for word processors, you would search for word processor and come up with all the different results. You're going to come up with a variety of things. Here's Pages, an app from Apple, and here's Microsoft Word, probably the most popular word processor in the world. You'll also find lots of other word processor apps by a variety of different companies. Now sometimes apps are free and you'll see a button that says Get. Other times apps cost money and you'll see the price listed there in your local currency. If you already have an app installed, then you'll just see Open rather than Get or a price. Also notice that sometimes you'll see Get, meaning the app is free, but you'll see in-app purchases under that, meaning there are additional things you can purchase in the app. It doesn't necessarily mean that the app doesn't work until you make those purchases. You may have basic functionality, but for more advanced functionality you may have to pay. Or you could have all the functionality you need in the free version, but maybe there's some extras that others may want that you have to pay to get. In addition, sometimes you'll find apps that are subscription based, meaning that you have to pay a regular monthly or annual fee to use the app. And sometimes apps have a subscription, but it's outside the App Store. For instance, Microsoft Word you can download here for free, but to use it you need a Microsoft account, which means you pay Microsoft an annual fee to be able to use their Office suite. Without the Microsoft ID and the paid subscription, this Word app is little more than a demo. Now you may have noticed that there's the Play section to get games, but also the Arcade section as well. The difference is that Arcade is a subscription service, kind of like Apple Music, but for games. If you subscribe to the service and pay a monthly amount, then you can get any of the games that are in the arcade section without paying anything additional. You just download the one you want to play and play it. But even with an Apple Arcade subscription, anything under Play is going to be a game that you have to purchase. Now let's go and look at the information for an app. So I can click to select an app and then I could see a lot of information about it. There are usually preview screens, sometimes a video. You can scroll down and read a description. Usually there's a More button here and you can read some detailed information, a link to the developer's website and their support page. Then usually there are user reviews under that. Some reviews are featured and you get a general rating and then you can click See All to see more reviews. Keep in mind these are user reviews, not professional reviews. So you're going to get a variety here, especially for smaller, lesser used apps. You're going to have some people that leave reviews that aren't really very useful. Then under that there's more information. Sometimes there's information about the most recent version so you can see version history and how recent this version is and what's new in it. You can also see the new app privacy section which tells you what information the app accesses. For a lot of apps, of course, they need to access information in order to work at all. This is a to-do list app, so of course it's actually going to access user content. Without user content, the app really doesn't do anything. And then you'll see some finer details at the bottom. For instance, compatibility, file size, and languages supported. Notice that if you're in an app that has in-app purchases, the in-app purchases section here can be expanded and you can see exactly what those are. That gives you a good idea as to whether you can use the app without those purchases or how much the app will really cost you to get all of the features. Now one of the best things about the Mac App Store is that when you make a purchase with your Apple ID, you can download that app on any Mac that you have. So if you have a desktop Mac and also a laptop Mac and you're using the same Apple ID for both as you should, then you need to just make the purchase once and you can download that app in both places. In addition, the purchase is always yours. So you can download an app and use it and then uninstall it. But then reinstall it later because you've already made that purchase. You don't have to pay a second time. Which means that if an app takes up a lot of space on your drive but you rarely use it, you can actually uninstall it and only install it again if you need to use it. Also at the bottom of the app information you'll see a section that says Supports and it may say Family Sharing. If you're using family sharing, so you have your account and say your spouse also has one and maybe your kids are also all in the same family sharing group, then purchasing the app means that everybody in the family sharing group can download and use that app. There are two other really good reasons to use the Mac App Store. One, of course, is security. In order for an app to be submitted to the App Store, the developer has to be registered with Apple and pay a fee. So it's unlikely that a bad actor is going to try to get into that system. And then Apple does run checks on the apps to make sure there are no obvious flaws or that it's malware. But even past that, if an app does turn out to be malicious in some way, Apple can remove it from the App Store and chances are they would have done that before you ever even saw the app. So there's a lot of accountability here which makes it a much safer place to buy an app than just off of a website somewhere. Another good reason is you have a single payment system. So instead of buying apps from individual developers and giving each one your credit card number to buy the app, you simply have your payment information with Apple and every time you make a purchase in the Mac App Store, it's just using that account. The Mac App Store will also perform updates on the apps in a universal way. So as an update appears for any of the apps that you've gotten through the Mac App Store, you'll get those. Whereas if you get apps individually from different developers, each one will probably have its own update system. In the App Store, if you go to Preferences, you can turn on automatic updates, which means updates will happen usually overnight and you'll always have the most recent version of the app, which is best not only for getting the latest features but for security reasons as well. You can also check to automatically download apps purchased on other devices. So if you have a desktop Mac and a laptop Mac and you want to make sure that when you buy a new app on one it automatically is added to the other, you can check that. If you'd rather have separate apps available on the different devices, then leave that unchecked. You can always go and download the app separately. Remember, once you've purchased the app with your Apple ID, you can get it on any device using that Apple ID. So if you buy an app, say for $20 on one Mac, then go to the other Mac, it won't say it's $20. It'll just have a Get button and you can get that app. If you decide to not have automatic updates, you can go to the Update section here and you'll see a list of apps that are available for update and you can trigger each update. Also, if you click on your user ID at the bottom left corner, you'll see your account and you'll see the purchases that you've made. If an app is currently installed, you'll see an Open button. If it's not installed but you've purchased it, you'll see this little Cloud download button and you could download that app for free. You can also click on this button here with the three dots and you could hide the purchase. So if there's an app that you don't think you ever want to use again, you can hide it here so it won't clutter up the list. Now if you happen to have a new Mac that's using Apple Silicon, like the new M1 Macs or anything beyond that, then you also have the ability to use the Mac App Store to download iOS and iPad apps. So you just switch over to that and then you can search for iOS and iPad apps. You should also be able to get any apps that you've purchased using the same Apple ID at no additional cost. But note that not all iOS developers need to make their apps available on the Mac. Some of them may not work properly or may not make sense to have on the Mac because it's a fundamentally different device than an iPhone or an iPad. You also use the Mac App Store to get Safari extensions. In Safari, if you go to Safari and then Safari Extensions, it actually takes you to the Mac App Store and to a special section not listed on the left called Safari Extensions. So that's a look at the Mac App Store. For most Mac users, I recommend that whenever you need an app, go to the Mac App Store and look there. Getting an app from the Mac App Store is more secure and it's also more convenient from a payment and update standpoint and helps you avoid possibly downloading something that could be harmful to your Mac. But more advanced users may get some apps from the Mac App Store, but at other times may get apps directly from developer websites.
I think that's the last video, right?
No, there's one more.
Oh, I added another one?
Import and exporting contacts on a Mac.
That's a mistake. That was one left over from last week. We did that one.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't notice that. So we must have had 6 last week, and we only had 5 this week. So I didn't overwrite the last one.
Right.
So speaking of iOS apps on a Mac, on an M1 Mac, has there been any rumors about a touchscreen MacBook?
Yeah, there was always rumors about that. There was a lot of speculation that when Big Sur came out, because the way it looks where everything's further apart, that it was getting ready for targets for putting your finger on because they spread things out. And those rumors have pretty much calmed down. I don't know. It's rumors. One thing I would say about the App Store is sometimes an app isn't available in the App Store, but if you go to the developer site, you can get a version that does more things because Apple limits the App Store. There's certain utilities and stuff you won't find in the App Store because Apple doesn't allow you to go deep into the system and do things. It's never going to be in the App Store. It used to be worse, but they've loosened that up so it can do some, more things. But sometimes some things never get in the App Store.
Bruce
They
had a
come up
question.
faster too from the developer. They'll usually show up on the developer's website before the App Store because of the certification.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Also, sometimes on the developer website, you can get a free trial, which is never the case.
Right. There's no trials in the App Store.
Right. Bruce had a question from before.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, moving data between iCloud and Notes.
Well, Notes isn't. You mean you want to sync your notes from your Mac to your phone through iCloud?
No, I actually want to move certain data from Notes to iCloud or vice versa.
Well, what do you mean by iCloud as a service?
Well, iCloud Drive. And
iCloud Drive is a place where you store things. Do you want to move it out of Notes into like a document in Pages or something? You'd have to put it into some other application and save it as a file.
Notes is self-contained. What goes in Notes stays in Notes by and large.
That's what I figured, huh?
Is there some reason you don't want to just have Notes available on your other devices and just use it and sync it?
I do have that available. My thing is, this has got to do with taxes, and I'm getting everything together in Notes, and some of it is in the iCloud. I mean, the iCloud Drive, and I need to some way, shape, or form combine the two and send the whole thing in one.
Well, you'd have to,
Copy and paste.
yeah, you'd have to take the data in notes and copy it out and paste it into a new document, and then save the document, give it a name, and put it someplace.
But you can export any note as a PDF.
Right, export, get it out of notes, and
I seem to be having problems exporting it from iCloud Drive to notes, or vice versa. Out of either place, I have to create a folder and put all this in a folder and send it out of that place. And I seem to be
iCloud Drive is a location where you would put things. You can't take anything and just, you'd have to select your note, copy it, and then paste it into like Pages, and then save it and give it a name, and the location you saved it was in iCloud Drive.
Copy it. Okay, I see. I haven't tried copying. I was trying to move a whole folder from one place to the next.
No,
and it won't let you.
Notes is a tarball that has all your notes. It's not something you can like move a note out of notes and store it in iCloud Drive. And then it's outside of notes. And it would have to be in some format that you could save in the Finder in whatever program you chose to do that.
Okay, I get it. Thank you.
And
then you could probably
what they call a folder in notes isn't a real folder, though, is it?
No, it's in notes. It's in the notes format.
Yes, in the notes format. So it's actually, in some programs, we would call it a tag instead of a folder, right?
Yeah, it's whatever they do, however they do it. It's
right.
It's Apple magic. It's the Notes app.
Yeah, it's kind of separate magic, and need to.
If you want to send it to somebody else, you got to get it out of Notes into something that you could send it to them, which would probably be a PDF or text file, an RTF text file in TextEdit, or something that they could read.
A PDF via email. That's what I was trying to do.
Yeah, and in Preview, you could have multiple, save everything as a PDF, and in Preview, you can combine PDFs into one document.
Okay.
It's very cool. You can drag them around in the order you want. You can do all kinds of things. You can put pictures in, documents that you can save it. Anything you can see on the Mac in any program, when you go to print, down the bottom left, it'll be saved as PDF, anything.
Right.
And you can also select a number of different notes and export the whole group as a PDF. So you could take the whole contents of a folder and print as PDF. And then you could manipulate it out. Then you removed all the data, taken all the data, and you can manipulate it in other programs. Anything you can import the PDF into.
Okay, thanks.
All righty then. How many people we got left? 19. We didn't have a big crowd tonight. We only got up to like 22 or something. We had 50 yesterday. I think that Ann said the daytime meetings seemed to be way more popular.
So Lloyd, I have to ask you, what are those puffy things in the sky behind you there? Are those? It almost looks like UFOs.
I asked him that
Martian
before.
invasion or something, like flying.
Right.
saucers.
It turns out they're spots. He was on a cruise ship, and they're reflections from the lights in the cruise behind him. Yes, I was very curious about that myself. Definitely looks like flying saucers over the Golden Gate Bridge.
What we got here?
Ken, are you waving or saying bye?
Gotta go.
Okay, see you later, Ken.
See you later. Catch you next week.
Hey.
All righty, are we done? We want to stop the recording?
Yeah, go ahead.